People tell you Ouija boards are just a game. They call it harmless fun, a party trick. Something you pull out after a couple of drinks to try and scare your friends. But the board I'm going to tell you about wasn't a game. It didn't care about the rules on the box. It cared about getting in. And if I'd known what the name Malachi meant, I would have burned that thing the moment I saw it. It was a Sunday morning in late November, damp and grey, when Alex and I went to the flea market. You know the kind. Rows of old tables under leaking tarps, the air thick with the smell of wet cardboard and stale cigarette smoke. Vendors hawking boxes of mismatched cutlery, stacks of dusty books and knickknacks from houses long since cleared out. That's where Alex found it. Sitting in the middle of a folding table between a cracked porcelain doll and a stack of warped vinyl records was a Ouija board. Not the glossy, mass-produced kind you buy from a toy store. This one was different. The board was heavy, carved from dark oak, its surface worn smooth with age. The letters weren't stenciled. They'd been cut into the wood by hand, uneven and deep. Around the edges, strange markings had been etched. Not the usual sun and moon, but symbols I didn't recognize. The planchette was solid wood too, with a cloudy glass window that looked like it had been fogged from the inside. The woman behind the table didn't greet us. She just watched. Her eyes locked on Alex as he picked it up. When he asked how much, she didn't name a price. She just said, "It's yours now." That night, Alex came over to my apartment. He brought the board in a plastic bag, the edge of the wood poking through like it couldn't wait to get out. We started at 11:45 p.m. The lights were off, just 3 candles on the coffee table casting jittery shadows across the room. Alex went over the rules, like he'd been waiting for this moment his whole life. Keep your fingers on the planchette at all times. Never play alone. Always say goodbye. I didn't believe in any of it, but I do now. We placed our fingertips on the planchette. Alex asked the first question. "Is anyone here with us?" Nothing happened. We both smirked. Then the planchette began to move. Slowly, deliberately. It slid to yes. "Who are you?" I asked. The planchette spelled M-E-L-C-H-I. The air felt heavier. Alex asked, "How did you die?" It responded with F-I-R-E. I asked, "So, what do you want?" It spelt out S-O-U-L. I asked again, "Whose soul?" It spelt Y-O-U. The room temperature plummeted, my breath fogged in the air. From the wall behind me came 3 slow knocks. Alex's voice was tight. "Ask if it's alone." I didn't want to, but I did. "Are you the only one here?" No. Alex said, "What else is here?" The planchette sped up. T-H-E-M. One of the candles went out. The shadows seemed to shift closer. We forced the planchette to goodbye and blew out the remaining candles. The lights wouldn't turn on. We sat in the dark until our phones ran out of battery, the apartment filled with a silence that felt too deep. The next morning, I found the word Malachi carved into my kitchen counter. I live alone, and no one has a key. That night, I woke at 3:17 a.m. to tapping. 3 knocks. Pause. 3 knocks again. It followed me from room to room. On the 4th night, I heard wood scraping against wood, the sound of the planchette moving, but the board wasn't in my apartment. The next morning, Alex called. I told him what happened and he replied, "It's all in your dreams." Against my better judgment, we agreed to meet at my place to end it properly. We set the board on the table. The wood felt warm, almost pulsing under my fingertips. "Is anyone here with us?" I asked. "Yes." I asked it, "Are you Malachi?" It replied, "Yes." Alex asked, "What do you want?" It spelt out House. The hallway light flickered. "What do you want with this house?" DOOR. Yes, I didn't understand what it meant by doors. But I asked, "How many?" ALL. A slow, rushing sound came from the hallway, and the smell of burnt copper filled the air. Alex's eyes went wide. "Don't turn around," he whispered. I didn't, but I felt it, tall and thin, standing in the doorway. The planchette moved on its own, OPEN. I shoved it to goodbye. Every light went out. Over the next week, things escalated. I started finding ash on my pillow in the mornings. The smell of smoke lingered in my bathroom no matter how long I ran the fan. One night, I woke frozen, unable to move. In the corner stood a figure, faceless, edges flickering like heat waves. It leaned over me, its breath hot against my cheek. It whispered, "Open." February the 4th. The tapping turned frantic. The smoke alarm screamed. Smoke poured from my bedroom. Inside, flames crawled across the bed in the shape of a word, Malachi. The planchette spun in the center of the board. Inside my head, I heard a voice. "All doors open now." Every door in the apartment swung wide. From beyond them came footsteps, dozens of them. The board set on fire on its own. I grabbed it and ran. To the kitchen sink, I turned on the tap. The water hissed against the wood. When the flames died, the board was split in half. But the planchette was gone. I stood in the kitchen, shaking, watching the last curl of smoke drift from the sink. The apartment was silent, not peaceful, just empty like a room that's been abandoned for years. I left the 2 pieces of the board in a garbage bag on the balcony and stayed at a friend's place for the night. The next morning, I came back. The balcony door was unlocked. The garbage bag was gone. I didn't look for it. After that, everything was fine for a while. I told myself it was over. The knocking stopped. No more cold spots. No smell of smoke. But then, 3 weeks later, I woke at 3:19 a.m. to the sound of wood scraping against wood. It was faint at first. Slow, deliberate movements, like something being dragged across a table. The sound grew louder until I realized it wasn't coming from the kitchen or the living room. It was coming from the foot of my bed. I froze. There was no board anymore. At least, there shouldn't have been. I reached for my phone, but before I could unlock it, I heard the voice. Not loud, not a whisper, just a steady, calm tone in my head. All doors open now. Somewhere in the apartment, a hinge creaked, then another and another. The bedroom door swung inward with a slow, steady push. Through the gap, I saw the hallway, and in the hallway, I saw them. Not one figure, dozens, tall, faceless shapes, standing perfectly still. The one at the front stepped forward. In its hand was the planchette. It placed it on the floor, and it began to move. I shit myself, I ran, and never returned to that house again. I asked one of my friends to collect my things a few weeks later. I would never ever touch a Ouija board again. If you ever sit down at a Ouija board, remember this story. It's not just about the words that get spelled out. It's about the things you don't see, waiting for you to finish. Some doors only open once, and once they do, they're never really closed again. Have you ever had something follow you home? Drop your story in the comments below. I read every single one. And if you want more true horror stories just like this, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this video with someone who thinks Ouija boards are just a game. Because sometimes all it takes is one question too many. Until next time, sleep well.